Welcome to another brand new episode of Undisputed Anime. I am your host, Zane Tai Cho. As always, I'm joined by my fantastic co-host, Mr. Susu Day. How are you, good sir?
Good morning. I'm very well. As you see, it's the daytime, which is a lot of fun.
um, this is the podcast where we like to talk about anime, manga, and everything else in between. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a recurring listener, welcome back to the show. It's been a little while. We've had a mini break, but we're back with a big episode this week. We've seen the Jujutsu Kaisen movie. Oh, can you believe it? Chef's kisses
Yeah,
everywhere.
very
um,
enjoyable experience.
oh, fantastic. But before we give our review, um, as always, we're going to do some Oi Josuke, some anime news, and then we'll jump straight into the review. There's been a lot of bits and pieces, by the way, that's been happening whilst we've been on hiatus, dare I say.
It's a very
uh,
professional term.
yeah, professional. Have you heard this story about a part of Japan? There's a rock that was
Yes, I heard this story. Let
which
me
had imprisoned the
a
nine-tailed
fox spirit.
fox,
Yeah,
and for some unknown reason, it's randomly found cracked open.
it's got the killing stone.
Yeah, it was a huge stone, which has been split open recently. So yeah, there's a obviously the fandom regarding, of course, the QB from Naruto and such. Everyone's going wild with these theories and such, but crazy, isn't it?
I
Like,
mean, it has been trapped in that rock, being resurrected after 1,000 years. There is now an evil fox spirit going around in the guise of a human.
mm. If you do happen to find said evil fox, let us know at undisputedanime@gmail.com. All of our contact details will be in the description. But
Give
yeah.
them our socials, and we'll get them on the show.
Might even try an exorcist, like,
What's it like being
ooh.
trapped in a rock, filled with
How do
rage?
how can you sleep with all that rage inside you? Can I have your chakra? Um,
Would you like to live in me?
um, there was some loads of Black Clover news as well.
Black Clover
More
movie, wasn't
important,
it?
yeah, more importantly, there'll be a movie in 2023. Um, I get the
Ooh.
feeling that Black Clover is making a huge comeback recently. Well, I feel it coming is probably the best thing to say.
So my understanding of it all is that, and this is someone who reads it week on week,
Hmm.
is that the story has just kind of really amped up in a massive way. Um, I think that it was starting to get there at the point where the anime kind of
Right.
came to its natural conclusion.
Yeah.
But obviously the manga's continued onwards,
Hmm.
um, and it's like absolutely like bonkers at the moment,
Yeah.
and it's kind of in that same place as in that same sort of place as My Hero Academia is at the moment, in that
Ah.
you can kind of get the feeling from it that it's coming. This is the end game. Like this
Right.
is like what is happening. Um, so it's really good at the moment. And if you are able to catch up on it, you should, because it's very good.
I feel like I need to give it another try because last year I feel like it kind of fell to the wayside with, some of the reveals in Baruto and I mean, last year was just a killer year for anime with everything else. So yeah, I feel like it really kind of dropped down the list in terms of priority. But I feel like it's going to come back in a big bad way, and especially not only with the movie but with the video game as well. Like,
Yeah,
feels like
it's a
everything's.
good time to like
Mm,
anime, like manga.
mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, In other news, I don't know if you've seen this, but Toei had recently been hacked.
Had
Uh,
they? Have
yeah,
not.
which means there's going to be delays on um, potentially on One Piece, the anime series.
Yes.
But more importantly, there's going to be a huge delay on the Dragon Ball movie
Oh no.
due to the studio hack. So I don't think there's been any sort of updates on when the new release date will be, but it looks like it's going to be pushed to a later date because of the hack.
So I mean, it's better that it be pushed back and they don't compromise on like anything. I imagine that quality probably wouldn't have been an issue,
Mm,
but I'd rather they take the extra time to get their house in order before
yeah,
they try and go back to the regular scheduled viewing.
yeah, definitely. Fingers crossed that we get to see it this year, and hopefully it's not pushed back into next year or something. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Um,
Imagine a Dragon Ball Z movie in a 40x.
we'll talk more about that experience in a moment. Um, yeah, I guess that's pretty much all the news. There's some other news that everyone's probably seen by now. Jobless Reincarnation Season 2 has been confirmed. The Doctor Stone manga officially ended. Um, so,
Trailer for Spy Family.
Spy
Not
Family,
trailer,
yes.
but you got the opening sequence and the end sequence.
That's
So
true. Yeah, yeah. That came literally in the last couple of hours.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, loads of bits and pieces. But of course, make sure to follow Undisputed Anime on Instagram and Twitter to make sure you're always up to date on the latest anime news. Um, should we get into some Jujutsu Kaisen action?
I think we should
Yeah.
because it's fresh in the mind. So
um, what I'll do, I think if we talk about certain elements, so if we start with something like the plot, maybe talk about the characters, visuals, and then maybe give our verdict. How's that sound?
I mean, I suppose it's also safe to say, like, safe to confirm just now. Is this a partial spoiler cast or is it like
Le-
are we avoiding spoilers? I mean, I have to imagine that a lot of people who would be watching it have
mhm.
probably read it,
Yeah.
but you know, do we need to give that warning now?
How about if we give our verdict now before
hmm
we go into spoilers?
Okay,
Yeah.
that seems pretty fair,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
reasonable.
So for me, I would say this is undisputed. Like this is absolutely fantastic in terms of an anime movie. Um, great pacing, great storytelling, great exploration of the characters on emotional
Yeah,
scale. And yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, I think it's a fantastic movie. So undisputed.
I would also have to agree, undisputed there. Like you
Yeah.
said, it really hit in all the right places. As something that is adapted from a four chapter like kind of one
One
shot,
shot. Yeah.
it's kind of really they enhanced it in all the places that it need enhancing. They
Hmm.
like to like kind of deepen the story and the relationships, which was great because I did wonder how they would manage to do that.
Yeah.
Um, it like I said, well paced. It was just a very enjoyable experience. Like I went in, I obviously went in as someone who knew what the story of Jujutsu Kaisen Zero was,
Yeah.
um, and it kind of it met all my expectations and exceeded them. Like it didn't feel like some movies do, where it starts and it finishes, and you're kind of left with a lot of like there's a piece of it missing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they don't hit one of the marks quite right.
Yeah. It's I think what it does well, and dare I say this is maybe a credit to Mugen Train as well, is that this is canon. Like this is, you know,
Yeah.
this has effects on the rest of it, unlike the Hero movies, which are absolutely fantastic. Like I really enjoyed the My Hero movies,
Yeah,
but
same.
they're not necessarily. I think the second one's maybe canon, but the first and third, I believe. Well, I don't
I
think.
think the second one. I think the second one is it's hinted to be more canon.
Yeah,
Maybe not 100%, but obviously there are things that happen towards the end of it
yeah,
that suggest that it plays into like the greater scheme of things,
yeah,
as opposed to the first movie, which was completely removed, and the third movie, which was obviously very
yeah.
removed.
Whereas this, there's no denying it. It's, you can get the manga, you know, straight off the shelves, beautiful panel for panel scenes and such, which is absolutely brilliant. Okay, I think we'll go into spoilers now.
Okay, cool. So this is the warning. If you are trying to avoid spoilers, if you've never read it,
hmm
um, this is where you need to get off the train. So there we
There we
go.
go. It's probably fair to say there will be time codes and such as well. So if you haven't left, uh, you can skip on over just in case. But welcome back if you've gone and seen it. You listen to this first, then you've gone and seen it, and then you've come back. Welcome back. Hey, we're still here. Have you read the manga yet? That should be next on your list. Uh,
Yes, absolutely.
so yes, absolutely fantastic movie. Um, should we talk about the characters?
Absolutely. Yes, I mean, let's go into it because I mean the cast is considerably small
hmm
compared to a lot of anime movies or adaptations of manga because I mean that's just how it was in the manga. Is like
Yeah,
they kept the cast quite small, and it didn't suffer for it. It was very good. Um, we obviously have everyone's favorite Gojo,
Gojo.
but he's not the main character of this story. It's Yuta. Yuta's the main character,
Yes.
and he's the protagonist of this little story.
Yeah, it's Yuta is really interesting to me because with the way it sets it up, he's special grade sort of jujitsu sorcerer, shall we say? Like it has everything that you look for in an MC for an anime series. Um, but I guess what we have is hindsight. We have 2020 vision to say we know Yuta isn't the main MC when it comes to the Jujutsu Kaisen series. So
Yeah,
it's really interesting that you've got this character who you follow in the one shot or the prequel, and his story does an amazing job of fleshing out the world in just 4 chapters in one movie, fleshing out the world, the mechanics, and everything else. It's really interesting and a really interesting character as well in terms of his self doubts and grieving, which he's been doing for years, which I really
yeah. It's yeah. I mean, I completely agree with that. I think what I like about him is he's like kind of the complete. He's not like a complete polar opposite, but he serves as a nice foil to
yeah
Yuji. Um, he's like personality-wise, he's like like completely
yeah
opposite.
yeah
Whereas Yuji is very optimistic about the whole thing. Like, I mean, he chose in a way to become the host of this like special grade
yeah
spirit, and then was like, yeah, well, okay, let's go do it. Let's go do this. Let's do this. Like, this is what I'm doing now. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna do
yeah
good. Whereas Yusu's kind of like, I want to die. He's like, everyone who gets close to me gets
yeah
hurt because of this. I want to die alone.
yeah. It's weird. It's almost like the beginning of the movie. Yuta's trying to find a way out. Um, yeah, it's a really, like you say, it's really sort of a polarized sort of premise, isn't it? Yuta's trying to look for a way out, where Yuji's trying to look for a way to protect and
Yeah,
contain.
move
Yeah,
forward.
yeah. Move forward with his issue, where Yuta's trying to run away from it. It's yeah, it's really interesting. What I like about this as well is his whole grief journey. It's the sort of journey of, again, I say grief again, but it's the journey of acceptance and moving forward and for him as well. It's a lovely story in terms of him finding acceptance in friends and wanting to be
Yeah,
valued.
as someone who thought that because of his
Yeah.
affliction, he wouldn't ever be able to have like close friendships and
Mm.
stuff. He was always under the impression that anyone who got close to him is gonna end up
Yeah.
dead as a result of the curse that is on him. The curse being Rika, of course.
Yeah, yeah. The curse as well. It's it's a different for me personally. I think it's a slight difference on the whole premise of being having possessed by a demon. Because like Yuji gets compared a lot
Yeah,
to say like Naruto and the Nine Tails.
yeah, because he has a
That's
demon
inside
trapped
him.
in
Yeah.
him.
Whereas this whole premise of Yuta's love, well, both of their love really, means they're intangible from one another. I,
Yeah,
yeah, it's romantic yet disturbing at the same time.
it was a great like touch on the whole genre of like
Mm,
possession because it really was like he inadvertently like she got in this horrific
yeah.
accident and he couldn't let her go, so he inadvertently like bound
Mm,
her to him without
yeah.
knowing. And like it's like exactly I think that the one of the best lines in the whole like story is Gojo saying that he thinks that love might be the worst curse of
Yeah.
all because it's like so hard to like break.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's yeah, that line is so well summarized for the whole movie.
Mm,
Um, the other characters in this as well, Maki is steals your heart. Like I
absolutely.
know, I know her backstory from the main anime series. Um, her not having any sort of powers of her own,
Yeah.
but this you feel the weight of it in this. Especially the way that um, Ghetto talks about, monkeys and such, filthy monkeys and everything
Yeah.
else. So yeah, it's you feel the weight of her sort of progress in this and what she's trying to prove and everything else, and of course the bond between her and
Yeah.
Yuta as well.
Yeah, because you really get to see her. I think you don't get to see it quite as much in the mainstream
Mm,
story because she's she's more put as a side
yeah.
character, whereas I think that she serves a very key role. In fact, all three of the other students in his year serve a much more key role in the development of Yuta's
Mm,
character, um, in the kind of like way that teaches him like a lesson about what it is to be a Jujutsu sorcerer and how everyone's got their own reasons for like kind of
yeah.
doing it. I think that the least development we get is from the
Yes.
panda in Zero, but I think he's there. He serves more as like kind of like some
Yeah.
light-hearted like story bits
He's the
for
comedian
Job.
relief, isn't he? Really, like to
Yeah,
an
comic
extent,
relief.
like Gojo fills that space as well. But yeah, Panda's only there to kind of do the comedy and everything else. Because I mean, he's a panda. Like
Yeah,
that is his whole. you
absolutely.
know. So yeah, I
It is the gag, isn't it? It's like why is there like if you've never watched it, it's like you have no idea what
yeah
he is or what he's capable of. You just like there is a guy, there's a panda here. Is he a panda? Is he a guy who wears a panda
hmm
costume? It's like
and
what's
Gojo
the
gives no explanation for it either when they have their full
yeah.
introductions. And he's like, and there's Panda, and it's just like brilliant.
Yeah, I also really like Zero for the way that it really it gives us more insight into what's his name Togi
Yes.
and his cursed speech because like we he's always been a very
Mm.
enigmatic character because he doesn't actually have any real
Yeah.
spoken lines because of his curse. Um, but I feel like you get a lot more insight into his personality through the ways that he interacts with Yuta
Yeah,
in this
definitely.
film.
It's more. He's very much the what's he very much embodies actions speak louder than words in this. You know,
Yeah,
when Yuta's anxious on their second mission, and he places his hand on his shoulder and helps push Yuta out of the way of the
yeah.
main attack and such. You know, is
And up until that point, like Yuta had been like there, like because he doesn't understand him, he doesn't know him longer. He takes all of those actions as
yeah,
hostile towards him. He doesn't understand that he's doing it because he cares and he worries because he's in a similar situation with his like he was
yeah,
born with
yeah,
his curse. Like so his powers have hurt people accidentally in the same way that you has. So he empathizes with him in the
yeah.
biggest way.
I think what's really cool as well is if you've watched enough Jujutsu Kaisen, I feel like I'm slowly picking up on what he's saying from his recipes. So when he says
Yeah.
salmon, I think that means like okay or a variation of it. I think I'm slowly.
I haven't looked into it like that. I've not thought about it. Like, but now I'm going to be over analyzing it like every
I
single
feel
time.
like I'm slowly
Hmm.
picking up what he means with certain ingredients. Mm.
I'm going to keep that in mind, and I'm gonna have a when I redo a
Yeah,
rewatch.
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
have a listen in on that, see if I can uh, translate him
Mm.
100%.
Um, shall we start talking about the visuals?
I mean, what's there to say about the visuals?
It
It's
is
gorgeous.
absolutely phenomenal. Like Mappa again have just kicked it out of the park when it comes to not only the anime series but a movie on this scale is just absolutely gorgeous. Um,
Yeah,
from
I mean they nailed it.
they've done some incredible work. You know, not just from the fight sequences. Of course, they're fantastic, but you know, there's certain scenes that, and again, they replicate it perfectly from the manga panel for panel, like Yuji in that sort of. I don't want to call it a prison, but you know that room where he sits on the chair and he meets Gojo for the first time. Just the
Yeah,
ambiance of it is just absolutely gorgeous, and um,
they really got my favorite
yeah,
moment from quite early on. Like it, it's a single frame
okay,
in the manga, but they turned it into this like visual spectacle in the movie, which is Gojo is obviously saying that there's a transfer student coming in. He's like, come in now, and he asks him to come into the room, and he steps into the room. That whole scene where he steps into the room and everyone feels the
yes,
cursed energy, and it shows it just his feet walking, and it shows like the kind of the weight of his steps, and the room darkens, and everyone's like goes into high alert, like we
yeah,
need to kill
yeah,
this
that is
thing. Like
amazing.
it was
The
so well
sound
done.
effect to
Um,
complement it is amazing as well because like you said there's like that heavy sort of drum beat every like step he takes and it leaves like an imprint, doesn't it, because you see like the smoke come from where he stepped.
yeah, I think that's probably my biggest disappointment about our viewing experience is as I hinted earlier on,
Mhm.
we saw it in 4DX, um, and for some reason, whoever was running that screening didn't turn on the 4DX. So until about halfway through the movie, we were not getting that full experience, and I'm just like now thinking how good that scene, how
Yeah,
amazing that scene would have felt, like how much more weighty it would have felt if you were like also getting the like kind of IRL stimulus
yeah,
to
certainly.
accompany it.
On the subject of the 4DX, which is there to amplify, as you say, the experience, the visuals, and the sound and everything. The fact that they turned it on at possibly the most inappropriate time of a woman
Oh yeah,
visiting Gato to remove um, a cursed
the cursed
spirit that
spirit.
fondles her, and we see the spirit, you know, run its hands up and down her body. That's when they decide to turn the motion on in the chairs. it's just like, oh God, like that's ridiculous.
It's
Yeah.
very unexpected.
Um, but after that, we got to see, of course, the action sequences. The brilliant thing with this as well is if you have read the manga, the action there isn't. Uh, how do I say this?
There's
There's not
not
a
a lot
lot
of
of
action in
action.
the
Like
manga.
a lot of it's left off panel. Like you'll see the start of a fight, but then it
Yeah,
moves back to another part of the plot.
it just
Mm.
gives you the key moments, doesn't it? It's like not moment by moment for moment. It's very
Yes.
situational. Like the fight, every single fight that happens in the manga is has a
Hmm.
full scene, a full visually stunning scene in
Oh yeah,
the
absolutely.
movie.
And it's, for example, Gojo versus Miguel. There's a whole sequence that's absolutely fantastic and gorgeous. Um, which,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a spectacle. It's definitely worth a watch.
gave me whiplash.
I tell you what gave me whiplash, which was when Panda arrived to protect Yuta,
Oh yeah,
because all of the punches,
we really
yeah,
lurched
all
forward,
of the
didn't we?
punches, you feel the shockwaves because of the motion of the chair. I think that nearly gave me whiplash. Mm,
Such a good experience. But yeah, the fight, as expected from Mappa,
yeah.
like nothing's left out. Like it's almost as if I obviously like anime studios and anime in general has been kind of memed on in the past for when you're doing really
Hmm.
complex motion scenes, you you have missed frames, or you have like the frames in between which are very poorly drawn, but they're just there to fill a
Yeah.
millisecond gap. But it feels like whatever Mappa is doing is they're like adding like 3 or 4 like frames in between the keyframes to keep it
Smooth.
so like
Yeah,
smooth and
yeah.
visually
It's
stunning.
they I know they've taken on a lot of work recently, but they really are killing it right now. Like, oh man. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but there was some news going around that they've recently opened like another studio. S- yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me. I hadn't heard that, but I mean, if they're gonna keep if people are gonna continue to choose
Mm.
Mappa to animate for them, then they're gonna need to increase their staff.
Exponentially.
They're gonna need to
Yeah.
increase like everything. What I this is obviously unrelated to the movie itself, but what I really like about the fact that Mappa keeps doing such a good job is it's kind of forcing
Yeah.
everyone else in the business
Yeah.
to up their game. Like they need to really up their game, or they're going to they're gonna fall out. Like people are going to have a bar set so high by Mappa that they're going to
Yeah.
end up disappointed by
Yeah, definitely. It's
everything.
studios like Wit and studios Perrot, who are doing the Bleach and recently been doing Baruto. Yeah, they're definitely
Yeah.
going to be shifting it into high gear because, as you say, competition breeds quality for all the fans and such. Mm.
Yeah, innovation, isn't it? It's going to be good. I mean, I'm looking forward to where Mappa takes
They
us,
are.
because Mappa's
They
leading the way,
definitely
it
are.
seems.
They definitely are.
So
Um, so we've talked about characters, we've talked about the visuals. Of course, we've mentioned that it's canon, and I probably it's probably a good point actually to kind of say the ramifications onto the main series because without Chapter Zero, because the whole purpose of Chapter Zero was that it was, as you said, a one shot, an idea to get in front of publishers to say this is what the series is about, these are the characters, and everything else. Um, do you think we'll see Yuta in the main series? As an anime watcher, and I know you're a manga reader.
you're putting me in a really tough spot right now, because I obviously know more than you
Hmm.
do about where the story is going. I mean, as you've asked, I will say confidently that I
Nice.
think that we will see him again.
That's good to
Um,
hear. Because I can
but
easily see him being a
um,
fan favorite after this movie. Um,
yeah. So the I'm just thinking about just now. So the arcs that
mhm.
we've had in the anime so far go up to a certain point. The arc that comes next, as myself and a friend keep telling you, is absolutely
Yeah.
insane. It's great. And then we're on an arc after. So we're like, the manga
Okay.
is like 2 arcs ahead. So there's a
Yeah.
lot that can happen during that time. So yeah, that's why we keep telling you to get up to date on the manga because we're kind of in these difficult situations now where like I don't know
I
what I
hear you.
can and
I hear
can't
you.
talk to you
I hear
about.
you. Yeah, I definitely want to catch up. Jujutsu Kaisen's really stolen my heart over the last couple of years. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna play catch up. Um, mhm.
I only learned recently is that the author and the studios who do the anime, they had actually intended, like the original intention was that the Zero would be the first few episodes
Wow.
of Jujutsu Kaisen. But they had chose to, in fact, I might be able to find it just here, but they chose not to do that in the end.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Let
That's
me see if
really
I can find it just
interesting.
now. It's gonna be one of those things I'll never be able to find it. Da, 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 da. New material as added to flash in the relationship between you and Rika,
Yeah.
obviously, because it was a 4 chapter
Yeah, I
deal.
thought the hosp.
Um, they want to have its own cinematic style. Well, I don't know where I read it, but here we go. Here we go. Like the television series, the film is produced by MAPPA and directed by Sung-Hoo Park. Park previewed the movie's plot in interviews and revealed the movie includes new content not featured in Volume Zero. Park originally wanted to cover the prequel series
Yeah.
in the first few episodes of the anime, but decided to begin with
Ah.
the main series.
Wow.
So yeah, um,
Yeah.
and I'm glad. I think it was a good
Yeah,
choice
certainly.
ultimately to do that because it
Yeah.
gave this as a film more
Yeah,
impact.
definitely. It's plus I
So
there's the whole element that the movie is just as good starting point. Like if they've never had any sort of exposure to Jujutsu Kaisen, the anime, manga, whatever, the movie can be a great jumping off point for anyone. Um,
absolutely, it
mm,
doesn't require anything of you to enjoy it. Like you can go into it. It itself does a great job of
mhm.
explaining the world that it is set, like what the problems are with it, what the main features of it are, without you having to watch the series to understand it. Which is, if you were to watch
Yeah,
like a My Hero Academia movie, you kind of need to have at least watched like
yeah,
1 or 2 seasons to kind of fully
yeah,
grasp the concept of it all. So it's a
yeah. Certainly,
bit
yeah. I
wild
think
that
you're
way.
100% right there. It's. I think you're 100% right there. It's a great movie to for anyone to watch. Again, I'm going to compare it a lot to Mugen Train because I feel like that's probably just as good as a movie to compare it to because you don't need to know an awful lot about Demon Slayer to enjoy that movie or understand the
Yeah,
premise.
I think to some degree I disagree in that
Sure.
respect. I do think that you could watch. I do think you could watch Mugen Train without having watched any of the anime or read any of the manga and still have a really enjoyable
Hmm.
experience. But I think that it doesn't do as good a job of standing alone because it's
Yeah.
canon and set in the middle, whereas
Yes.
Jujutsu Kaisen 0 is canon but it's set before. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
you don't need to, like with something that's set before, you don't need to know anything about the main series at all. Whereas to some degree,
Yeah.
you kind of need to know a little bit about Tanjiro and his journey, the people he's with, like
You're right. Yeah.
because I mean like I said, it's not. I don't think it's an entry requirement to watch the whole anime
Hmm.
before you watch Mugen Train, but I do think that it doesn't do as good a job as Jujutsu Kaisen 0 to, kind of stand alone.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Um, wow. I think we've covered quite a lot. Um,
It was like, I mean, the biggest takeaway from this is that it's visually stunning, it sounds beautiful,
mhm.
voice acting is great, the fight scenes
Yes.
are as crisp and clean as any Mappa property that you've happened upon. Um,
Yes.
its story has been enhanced in all the right places. They've obviously added
Hmm.
a lot of stuff in to further display the relationships between Yuta and Rika, and all these other little bits. But it doesn't feel forced. It's not like
No.
inserted to make it longer. It really does enhance it. Um, if you get the opportunity to see this film in 4DX, I would
Hmm.
very much recommend it because it felt like I was on a roller coaster. It was very fun.
Yeah, definitely. I just remembered as well, they added sequences in for Namani,
Oh yeah.
the the chap in the business suit, the fan
Yes,
favorite,
yes, they did, and also for I can't remember her name. Is it Ino?
the lady who likes to make bonus, get paid a lot.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I think she's May. Let me just double check that just now. But yeah, she also got like like extra time. Yeah, May.
Yeah, yeah.
So her scene was pretty good because I don't think we've actually seen. You might have seen it in the next arc that you see her fight, but I don't think up until this point, if you've not like been reading the manga, you would have seen anything of her other than that she likes money and she was observing the competition between the
Yes.
schools.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Toto is in this as well.
Yes, he is. That
Um,
that was a scene which I don't think it was unwelcome to see it, but I think that a couple of like the scenes we're talking about right now are fan
mhm.
service. They're there for
Yes.
people who have really gotten behind those characters. Um, I mean, we did.
Hmm.
I think it was cool to see him. It was a shame not to see Boogie Woogie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm with you there, but it does enough as well to kind of be like, here's these people, and then if you do go into the anime, you'll be like, I know him from the movie.
Yeah, he's
Like
the guy who was like he had an appointment. He had to go and watch what's her face's New Year like
Christmas
special.
special.
So so good. It was a very good experience. As it was published by Crunchyroll Funimation. I'll just call it Crunchyroll
Yeah.
Funimation for now. I imagine that we'll be seeing it on Crunchyroll in the coming months. Um, but we've not seen World Hero Mission on there yet, have we?
I think it's not too long ago had a digital release. I think it's one of those things where they'll do like a digital release on like, DVDs, Blu-rays and such,
Yeah,
and then it might come to streaming. Um,
because I know that Jujutsu Kaisen's not already on there. Because we did wonder if it had already would be have dropped. Can I just jump onto the old Crunchyroll and see?
the movie came out in August.
Yeah, so at the moment you can get Heroes Rising and Two Heroes if
Yeah.
you are in the US. So get your NordVPNs, not a sponsor. Get your VPN services if you want to watch those.
Oh, so did you say World Heroes is on there?
No, World Hero Mission isn't on there. You got Two Heroes and Heroes Rising, so 1 and 2. But I
Ah, right.
imagine that they will eventually come on to there, because
Yeah.
for the same reason, like it's kind of looks like it's been distributed by Crunchyroll Funimation. So yeah, interesting fact.
Mm.
Jujutsu Kaisen Zero now holds the title of the second second biggest 3-day release in Japan,
Wow.
following behind Mugen Train.
Ah, of course it would have.
So
Of course.
yeah, that's a fun one. They made it's exceeded 2.6 billion yen,
Oh man.
over a 3-day period in Japan.
The other thing as well, like if they've got the 4DX, 3D and IMAX, all of those like variations cost slightly more than just the normal 2D movie. So
Yeah.
those add to the profits as well, don't they?
Mhm.
By the way, I've just had a quick look. Home video release for Heroes blah, blah, World Hero Mission release date 16th of Feb 2022. But I
Okay,
guess
so
that's
it's going
maybe
to be
Japan.
yeah, probably be Japan. So we'll probably get it. That's why I find it so weird, because it feels like we got Mugen Train really quick,
Mm.
but that might have been subject to the time it was released originally in cinema.
Yeah,
It might be because of COVID and all those things.
the pandemic and such. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely. Um, oh man, I really hope Jujutsu Kaisen smash more records.
yeah,
I
me too.
I really want it to do well.
It's like so it's really great, really great place. The pacing's really good. I feel like in recent years there have been some very slow starting like manga series in Shonen Jump.
Hmm. Yeah.
Obviously with Naruto no longer being there, Bleach no longer being there, and One Piece still going on strong like it usually is. There
Yeah.
were obviously all of these like gaps to fill, and obviously My Hero Academia came along, Black Clover came along, and then
Hmm.
Jujutsu Kaisen came along. Um, on the Shonen Jump front. And I think that some of them have been slower starters than others. But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that we've reached that kind of really good point now. But I am not worried, but I'm excited to see what comes next, because it does seem like obviously a lot of these manga are reaching their final arcs. Like, what is going to replace them?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, you're right. Because as we previously said, Doctor Stone's finish. Um, Fire Force recently finished. So yeah, and again, Black Clover and My Hero feels like it's coming to an end. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next big wave is.
Well, Dan da Dan da Dan is very good,
I
and
love that.
so is Doro Doro Doro. They're in early days, and they're both very good so far.
Hmm.
So I think that they're gonna fill those gaps. Um,
Yeah,
but who can say? Who can really say?
I think we'll always have our eye on the ball. We'll know. We'll know what's the big one coming.
Ayashimon, that's also
Yeah.
very good. So they've got some really good titles at the moment. It's like some
Mm.
up and comers. I say up and comers. I don't know much about their authors, so it could be that they've had big hits in the past, or it could be like Demon Slayer, where this was like their first big thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, I've found that quite a few of them tend to be like assistants on bigger stuff, such as like Chainsaw Man and
yeah,
other stuff, and then they've gone to create their own series, which have been fantastic. But
spectacular.
spectacular. But anyway, um, I think that's everything, right?
Yeah, I
End
mean,
credit sequence. We haven't talked about the end credit sequence.
oh, yes, end credit sequence. It is vague because it doesn't happen in the manga. It is it involves an interaction between
Hmm.
Yusa, Miguel, who is
Yes.
an antagonist, mind
Mm.
you, in Kenya,
Yeah.
and Miguel seems to be feeding Yusa, and they're talking about food, and then Gojo shows up,
Yeah.
and nothing is explained. Um, I know that there's talk about it could be linking into the current manga arc.
Okay.
Um, that's the only thing I can think of. It could be. It could just be. It could very well just be there to serve as a. I mean, biggest spoiler is at the end of the movie is
Hmm.
that Yuta realizes that he was the one who actually cursed Rika, and
Hmm.
that's why she's bound to him. And through his acts, he's able to break that curse, and she's able to pass on.
Yeah.
So at that point, I think that a lot of people who have never seen it before, who've not read the manga or anything like that, might be looking at it like he's not got his powers now.
Yeah.
So maybe it could be just a scene to facilitate the image that after he loses Rika, he continues to be a Jujutsu sorcerer, and
Hmm.
he's okay. He's living his life. He's doing what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it could have links to coming stuff. It could not. It could just be its own thing.
The craziest thing about this as well. So, as I mentioned, I've got the manga, and then on the second to last page, there's a gag which has Miguel saying like he did a good job in his fight against Gojo.
He survives.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, that's interesting as well. I was quite surprised to find that when I was rereading this because I was like, wait a second, like, is that a nod and wink to just a gag panel like, from the manga? Like,
It could work because I mean I obviously read it online,
yeah,
and the last you don't get that frame
no,
unfortunately. You just get the Gojo giving Yusa his ID back. That's the last frame of it. Like it ends there.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I wonder it might come to something. It might not. You know, I think I think we've all come we because of Marvel, we've now started living in this culture where if there's an end credit scene, we expect it to be a preview or a hint to what comes next.
mm-hmm,
And
yeah,
maybe we need to stop doing that, and like maybe an end credit scene can just be, it's just an additional
an
little
end
thing.
credit scene, yeah,
Yeah, it's like, have you watched the movie on Netflix? Don't Look Up.
yes,
Did you watch all the way through the credits?
I think so.
So at the
Yes,
very end
yeah,
of the credits, like it's
they land on that
the
planet.
president's the president. No, it's even after that. The president's son. Um, he obviously didn't get to escape the Earth getting destroyed. He's still on Earth. He's on what's left of the Earth. He's like, and it's implied that he's like the only one left alive. And he gets out, and he immediately starts just like streaming, like he starts like video, like podcasting.
Of course, of course.
And I think that was a great little scene because it's like obviously there's not going to be a sequel. This is
Mm,
just this is an end scene for comedy's sake. It was like fun.
got yeah. No, that's funny. That's actually pretty cool. Um, yeah, it's interesting that we're seeing more and more of those in anime, though, like you said, because we saw one in Sword Art Online. Um,
Yeah, that was a preview though.
yeah, yeah.
So,
But yeah, I kind of dig them. I kind of like them. It might get exhausting, like you said, to a point. Like we've had 10 years of Marvel doing it, and I don't think
mm,
there's that many film franchises that do it either.
yeah, I think for anime movies, I probably wouldn't get bored of it because usually if it's something canon,
Hmm.
it's just basically going to be saying, hey, we're going. It's like their way of announcing that they're going to continue.
Yeah,
Like they're going to make another movie which will follow a different part.
yeah, definitely. I like that though. I Especially, it's a way, like you said, of announcing it to fans. You know,
Hmm.
directly to speaking to their audience.
And I guess that they can either curse or they can thank Marvel for this. But now a lot of studios are realizing, hey, you know, a lot of people will sit and they'll wait until the end
Yeah,
of the credits to see a little bit of extra. We should, like, even if it's like a silly little thing, we should reward them for sticking around,
yeah,
even if it's like nothing major.
yeah, definitely.
Because there's nothing worse than than sitting watching the movie finish and being like, I'm gonna watch the credits because who knows, there might be a scene afterwards,
Mm.
and then not being a scene. Like, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Because I could have been like halfway back to the car by now.
I could have had a sandwich by now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know what you mean. It's no, it's cool. I like it. I like it. And especially when you hear other people say there's an end credit scene, you're like, what? No way. There's no way there's an end
Yeah.
credit scene. Let me sit through this and make sure that I'm not going to miss out because there's no way.
It's worse when you think you're certain there won't be one, and then all of a sudden you hear someone sitting behind you say, "I think there's an end credit scene." You're like, "Oh, do I take the gamble and leave, or
Mm.
do I just sit for 5 more minutes?"
Cool. Right, we're nearly out of time, so we better wrap this bad boy up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Bye.
thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like, share the video, all that jazz. If you listen to this on your favorite podcast platform, make sure to give us a star rating. That just helps the podcast in a big bad way. Leave a comment. We love to hear your thoughts on the movie. And at the same time, if you're following us on the social medias, which are all linked in the description, let us know your thoughts. We'd love to see if you've seen the movie and everything else. So, yeah. Of course, you can catch us on Twitter and Instagram. Again, at Zane underscore Taicho. CC Day, do you want to do yours or shall I do yours?
You can do it. You're pretty good with the old sign offs.
At CC Day on Twitter and Instagram. But yeah, thanks for listening, and we shall catch you on the next one. So stop doing domain expansions. This is going to be a little tangent. I know we're wrapping up, but I've like ever since I've seen it, I've been going around the house going, "You're my war, you're my war." Domain expansion. Yeah, I like the wolf one. I can't remember what it's called, but the one when Megumin does the wolf.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Cool.
Anyways, ciao for now, and we shall see you next time.
Have a good Saturday.